Welcome to the Inner Flame podcast where Stardust meets the body. I wanted to get on and this isn't the weekly energetics, but I did want to talk about just some of the energies that are coming up presently that can be woven into the weekly energetics, but also the summer and what I see kind of coming for the summer. But I also want to just kind of touch on like why everything feels so weird right now. And it's like conversations that I've been having with friends, what I'm personally feeling, what I'm witnessing, um, and just like where I think we are as a collective. And I just feel like I knew, I had channeled that the energy was going to bottleneck and it was going to stretch and things were going to feel like pretty intense. And my God, I felt that like 5 years ago. And I'm like, God, how much more stretched could it get? And part of me is not surprised. Um, from what we're experiencing. I channeled it, so part of me is like, this shouldn't come as a surprise, but part of me is surprised because it's like, wow, it just feels really tense and stretched. That's the best way that I can like describe it. Like everything is just so stretched that it feels like it's just gonna snap. And it's almost like things are taking way more effort than they should. Um, we're not fully out of the old paradigm. We're definitely not fully in the new paradigm yet. Um, Everyone that I've been talking to, like, we're tired. It's like we have energy, but it's also like, whoa, I need like way more rest than I did before. And it's like crossing three things off the to do list is like you crossed off 20. You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like. It feels like 5 years ago you were like, "Bup, bup, 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 bup," and now it's like, "Bup, bup, bup, yes." Like it's just such a different energy. And it's almost like, like the hanged man. Like we're suspended. You know what I mean? Like we're just kind of being held in this space right now. And while it's super annoying, I do believe there is a purpose for it. Um, Personally, and what I've been like gathering as I've been talking to friends and some other people is it's kind of like we're questioning everything. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Does any of this matter? Um, and it's really interesting because it's like I really feel like I know where I'm going, but when you're suspended as a collective, it feels even harder, because you're like, oh God, like, do I know where I'm going? Like, I don't even know. There's been a lot of talk around getting a normal job, and it's been very interesting to see. Like, I have a gal who has had her own business for like the last decade, maybe plus a little, built from scratch up. And though it's gotten bigger, it's still like this suspension feeling. I have another friend who does body work who's like, oh, I just like don't know where I'm supposed to go. I have another friend who was talking about getting a job. And what's really interesting too is I just feel, well, maybe I'll get into that, but there's also just this feeling of being absolutely exhausted even though you're doing like the inner work. It's like you're aware of the patterns, you're aware of all the things, and you've really made headway in those things, but it's like you still can't get through because the collective energy is like, we're not there yet, we're just gonna just stay right there, okay? We're not ready for you. And it's like really frustrating. And I do believe that even those of us who think we're ready, we're not ready, especially around like the new paradigm. So I just feel like everything feels really weird, really odd, kind of like, and I think I did talk about this a little bit with Celeste, where right now it feels like we're supposed to be moving forward, and it's like the energy is moving so fast, but it's giving the optical illusion of going backwards. So even though we are moving forwards, it feels like we're going backwards. And I 100% relate to that even more now than I did when I published that article, because it feels, like when people are like, I guess I have to go get a normal job, that doesn't feel like a new paradigm to me, right? That's like, holy shit, it's harder. It feels harder right now to be living the life that I created, that I left my career for right now, than it was 5 years ago when I started. Like, that's wild. But I think there's a reason. I think we are in a collective goo phase, and we definitely go through there's these time periods where we are in a goo phase or we're in an individual goo phase, but as a whole, as a collective, we are in a goo phase. And it's just so interesting. We got my daughter a butterfly rearing kit for science, and the caterpillars are literally in their cocoons right now. They are in their chrysalis. They are literally dissolving into goo, which means they have to completely let go of what they were to allow themselves to be the new. And what's really interesting is they're in a cocoon. They cannot be doing other things, right? Their focus is solely on becoming something new, right? They're not like, oh, I've got to do the laundry, I've got to go do this, I've got to go do this. So we are feeling like a whole new level of exhaustion because we don't get to be in a chrysalis. We're not in a container where it's like, oh, we'll be in our incubator for 4 months and we'll come out a whole new person. We still are living our lives during this process. And I think it can feel extra, 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 extra exhausting. And I think the problem with the goo is that there's no roadmap. There really isn't a roadmap, and it can kind of feel overwhelming because it's like, where should I go? Where's my energy supposed to go? And there doesn't feel like there's any certainty, and that's what gets so uncomfortable, because you're really kind of walking blindly. And I think that can really cause a lot of friction in our bodies. And I also want to think about the collective right now, because, my friend and I are saying, like, gosh, why don't people want our medicine, like what we have to offer? I think the collective, it's not that I'm not good at my job. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. And same thing with my friend. It's not like she doesn't know what she's doing. I've been doing my work for a decade. I feel I'm only getting better. I'm honing my skills more intently. But the collective right now is in survival. It really is. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. Like, survival doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing, but survival is like, I'm going to chop wood and carry water. It's like, I think people are realizing that we are so inundated with information that it just doesn't feel good, and you're just like, well, what do I need to do to get through the day? And sometimes when we are in that phase, those of us who can be maybe a little intentional about chopping wood, carrying water, and then there's some of us who can't be intentional or don't have the wherewithal to be intentional, and it can feel like we're numbing out. So I think there's just something to recognize here with it feeling so fucking weird, is that the goo phase is uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. It's one of those moments where it's like, I have to trust that what is on the other side is going to be really fucking beautiful. But this is like really uncomfortable, right? And I wrote an article about, choosing to stay with ourselves in the in-between, and how much our bodies actually need. And actually, that chopping wood and carrying water is not a bad thing, right? Being able to just do your laundry and know that that's enough is exactly maybe what we need right now, right? It might not be a time for us to really do these deep dives or to really do the work. It really feels like it's a time to just be focusing on what is the next small step that I can take that's moving the needle. So this is like, again, a reminder that like the spiritual growth that we all are going through is not, it doesn't always look magical, right? It can really, like, we need the grit. We got to be able to like find the grit within ourselves. And I think some seasons of life are just deeply ordinary, and I think there's been a maybe detachment from believing and knowing that the ordinary is still very much spiritual, right? The goo phase is still very much spiritual. It's just knowing that we are limited with what we can do, where we can go, what we can handle, and sometimes just showing up for chopping wood and carrying water is enough. And so this is really a time where we want to support ourselves, nourish ourselves, rest, move the body, right? Because we're not in a chrysalis. We need to move our bodies, and we need to tend to our relationships, the relationship that we have with ourselves, the relationship we have with our family, right? So I feel like this again is saying, don't abandon yourself. Know that it's like just everything feels so stretched. And when you feel stretched to the max, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? It's either like we snap or we go, oh, that's actually a little too uncomfortable. I'm going to come back to something a little more comfortable. But I think we really, really have to support ourselves during this time. And I think that might look different. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's not signing up for the class that you want to sign up for because you might not get what you want out of it, because you just want to focus on folding your laundry and making your bed and being able to say that that's enough, and that is still very spiritual. And maybe it's just being able to work out and being able to say that was really me tending to myself today. You know what I mean? When I wrote my newsletter for, if you get on my website, www.spiritedtreasure.com, you can join the Inner Flame newsletter, and that is separate from my Substack. And each month I do a monthly newsletter, and this newsletter, June really felt like the final push. It was this exhaustion, this perseverance, this grit that we needed, this resiliency that we needed to have. And I got the 9 of Wand energy for the month, and that was really like, I don't know if I can keep going, but your soul is also like, you're closer than you think. Don't give up, and really about finding support in your community, having the people around you that believe in yourself, even in those moments where you're like, I don't know, maybe I should just quit. And they're like, no, this is not a message from the universe for you to stop. This is for you to keep going and build your resiliency and know that you have grit, to keep grit. I think that's the other thing is sometimes we think, and especially because of what we have learned with manifestation, if I am in communication and in alignment with my higher purpose, that things should just flow to me and it be easy. Wrong. Especially right now, because we're not in a new paradigm. We're not in the consciousness where we really understand manifestation, where we really are aware of the nuances of what our emotions are and our shadows and how those reflect into our real world. We're still learning. And I think that so many of us are going, oh, that's not easy, and I should just give up. It makes me want to cry, because I too have multiple times said that. It's not easy. I should just give it up. It's a sign from the universe. But it isn't. Maybe it's a sign that to keep going, to build the resiliency, to build the grit. And like my friend says, she does astrology, my friend Amanda. We've done plenty of work together and are continuing doing that. But, there are so many small little aspects in our charts that can sometimes just mean something needs to be altered, something needs to be witnessed, or just to know maybe my path isn't going to be the easy one, but that doesn't mean that I don't take it. And I think that's the biggest thing, because like our human experience, especially in this 3D, right? The 3D dimensional world, it is about the extremes, it like the death of someone reminds us feeling love is so important, and connection, right? Having something be hard and difficult goes, wow, I really realize what it took to not give up on myself, and it builds your confidence and your resiliency. So there's the paradox, right? But there's also the growth of life, and I think that that's really important. So I did want to talk about July. And before I get into that, I want to talk about what I think is coming, and this energy of, I wrote so many notes here. So many notes. I got from Celeste when I was channeling that we were going to have this cosmic event, and it was really, this energy was really going to be, what do I want to say encapsulating, but I don't even think that's the word, but really affecting and prominent over the summer months. So from June to definitely August. And this could be like solar flashes, like really big solar flashes, but I also kind of sense like some kind of asteroid. I can't quite figure out what it is, but there's definitely something coming into our sphere and, dusting us with the cosmic dust. There's definitely going to be a shift in frequencies. There's definitely going to be solar activity, cosmic activity, and this feels like light codes, upgrades, like all the things that could definitely have an impact, will definitely have an impact on us and our bodies. And I think, June again feels like this final push. It just feels like things are very kind of stretched. It feels very hard right now. And this cosmic event, like what I'm getting from Celeste, it doesn't feel like it's a single event. It might be a couple of things and big things. So it might be the solar flares. There could be some asteroids. I do wonder if there's like a goddess asteroid that's coming in. I would need to ask my friend about that. But, it feels like there's going to be an increase in the energetic input, right? And almost like we're kind of being saturated. And I know that can also feel intense sometimes, but it's going to be activated, and it feels like it's going to also be amplifying. So let me see. There is big energy for the summer. I really feel like it's going to be, July feels like it might even be like maybe a little bit of relief. It feels like a breath, but also a surge at the same time. So we could feel a relief, maybe some expansion, maybe like, and we kind of are able to like move a little bit without feeling so strained, if that makes sense. It feels like there's possibility, like survival doesn't maybe feel so gripping on us. And again, this can take time. So the energies might be coming in July, but we might not feel it until August. But I do feel like there's going to be a big amount of energy around this summer. So I feel like this is just, I want to talk about how important it is, because I think this affects all of us so differently. And it's because we're processing. Like everything that we're going through is, we're processing on some layer. like one of the reasons we're so tired is because we're still trying to orient ourselves to what's happening and what feels like it's moving backwards, right? And I feel like the nervous system is trying to orient. We're trying to be able to support ourselves. But I think many people are still in survival, and I think we are going in and out of maybe survival energies. And this can really show up around finances, security. I mean, identity, purpose, like all the things that we are like suspended in, right? It's the sun is really coming through here, so hopefully you can see me okay. Um, I feel like just everything is being questioned right now, right? And the questioning actually requires energy. So the more we can maybe not question and allow ourselves to just be during this time, maybe that's what is needed, right? Because things are coming in and things are coming at us at our reality level, like what's happening on the news and the main stage and in our what I would call the macro. But we also have what's coming in cosmically, and I think it's maybe important for us to remember that it's okay for us to be going in and out of survival, but to support our bodies, maybe don't ask questions right now. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, or don't question everything. Don't question, are we going to be okay? Just do what you need to do in this now moment to support yourself. I think it's very easy when things feel so uncertain to totally spiral. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was not only the energies coming in for the summer, and what to expect. you know I think expect the things that we've already been going through. Expect your body to maybe need more rest, expect your body to be hydrated, expect your body to maybe need more nourishment, more support, maybe disconnect a little bit more from the blue screen, right, or the blue light. Get outside, do things that might feel mundane, but it's okay, right? The mundane is okay. And I feel like the last thing I wanted to talk about was this alien disclosure. And I feel like it's everywhere. And I have a very different, maybe, perspective around the alien disclosure. I feel, of course, it's going to be super nuanced. And I think what I want to say the main message is do not get distracted by the main headline. I think let's focus on the intention behind the message. And that can actually also be exhausting because we're tired. How do we discern something when we're tired? And it's also like, how do we trust what is being given to us when we don't have trust in the establishment anymore, right? And so, but I think that's what I want you to understand is like really disconnect from maybe what's being slammed in our faces, and think about what might be underneath this. And I think the biggest thing that I want to maybe say is, what if the alien disclosure is not actually about aliens, but it's about consciousness? What if it's about hidden technology? What if it is about remembering knowledge that has always existed? And I've talked about this before. I've published this on my Substack with what I have channeled from Celeste. And I really do think that, there may be a story of like aliens coming to get us. But I do think it could also be a doorway for them to actually acknowledge the technology that we have had for what I think to be millennia, truly millennia. So ancient knowledge, frequency, energy, consciousness, right? Like, and I don't think this technology is new by any means. I mean, like I said, I think that we've had it for a very long time. And what if humanity is actually finally maybe ready to look at it differently. So it might not be about the message that they're putting out there, but what if it is finally saying like, oh yeah, by the way, we've been in cahoots with them, and it gives an opportunity for the technology. And I know people will have many different opinions about this, but I truly believe that we have this technology that, depending on whose hands it's in, it can be used for good or bad. And I know there's much debate around what people think. I believe that we are headed towards a new paradigm. I believe that we are moving towards sovereignty. I do not believe in the fear porn that people want to project all over the place, because what does that do for us? Nothing. I really, truly believe what I have been guided to share and talk about is really for us to claim our sovereignty, for us to understand we are a self-governing people, and that we do have technology that can really eradicate a lot of the things that keep us in this suspended phase. But we have to be ready for that, right? And I think there is a process that we have to go through to be able to be ready for that. And what if the goo phase is really uncomfortable, but it is also that recalibration that we might need? So when you think about the alien disclosure, why is it being shown? Why now? What is trying to come into awareness? Right? And that's, I think, what I want to say. I remember this was like when I first started channeling Celeste, and she said to me quite often, something is going to come up and it will be this, but you have to be able to look at it this way. So you'll see this, but we have to be able to see what's underneath. So it's almost like, here's the message, but what's beneath the message? And that can be quite exhausting. And I think that is very hard when we are in the goo phase. But I also think this gives us an opportunity to slow down enough, because the goo phase requires our energy. It requires rest, it requires nourishment, it requires us to slow the patterns enough for them to become visible, so we can go, that's not important right now, I'm just going to fold my laundry. Sometimes people have to break and snap before they can get there. Sometimes they do have to have that complete spiral moment, or what's it called? The life crisis, or a nervous breakdown, before they really go, oh, I see. I was maybe going 50 million miles a minute when I should have been going 10 miles an hour, right? So this is just a reminder to look beneath the surface, look beneath the fear, look beneath what's being projected to you and at you, and look beneath the headlines and just ask yourself, what's possible here? Why is this coming up now? And that's not to say that you might have all the answers. It doesn't matter. It's allowing ourselves to think about what's possible underneath, and not in a way that's going to bring more fear. Is it possible for us to open ourselves to seeing something that might be scary, but how could it benefit us in a good way? And I know that's, like, again, nuanced, layered, and also people don't want to think about that, right? It's kind of like you went through something very difficult in your life, and in the moment it was absolute hell, but then stepping back, you're like, I can see how I learned from that experience. And I think that might be something here, really important for us to be able to see and look at. So alien disclosure is coming, but not in the way that we think. And I don't think they're going to just flat out tell us. I think it's something that we consciously have to be curious about, of what's underneath that message. And I truly believe what I get is that the messages are going to be around, or a door opener for the technology that we have had, that is really going to help usher us into this new paradigm. So let's just pull a couple cards. I just want to see what do we need to know about the energies for the summer? What do they want us to know about the energies of summer? TikTok, peace, new life. So TikTok feels like, again, there's maybe pressure around time. I just want to look this up and see if there's anything that wants to be said that I might not be picking up on. Oh, there's chop wood. Divine timing, immeasurable time. People have come to look at life in a linear way, imagining that the past is behind them and the future is ahead of them. But what if that isn't true at all? What if everything, creativity, beauty, chaos, and order, were happening now in a glorious timelessness? You have all the time in the world to co-create the life you desire. So release your agenda. So I think that's so important for right now, because we might also be kind of putting more pressure on during this time because we are exhausted, because we're in survival, and it's like things aren't happening the way we want. We're running out of time. But really being able to step back and say, folding the laundry was enough, or going outside and just working in the garden for 30 minutes was enough, or going for like really being able to alter, right? And my friend and I talk about this all the time. When you are stressed out about time, you condense it. But when you shift your energy to say, I'm a time, what do we say? I can't remember what we talk about. Like, we're a time, we can expand time essentially. And it's like, oh, I can get all the things done that I need to get done. Okay, then we've got peace. So I feel like, again, even though things don't feel peaceful, even though we feel stretched to our max, how can we find peace? And I think, again, that's really hard when we are in survival and we're so exhausted. But what does that look like? And I will say, doing things and moving the body are going to benefit you way more than just laying on the couch, okay? We will bring peace to the body, soul, the fascia, right? Rather than just laying on the couch. So I just want you to think about that this time, like especially for the summer. And I think this is going to mean that peace is ushering in, okay? TikTok, it feels like, again, things feel tense, maybe condensed. Peace, even though it doesn't seem like that, I feel like the energies that are coming in are really around bringing peace, not only to us, but to like the whole realm. And then we've got new life. So again, what do you get from the goo phase, right? You're a whole new person. So I feel like this is really, really a beautiful message, specifically for, the energies coming in over the summer. All right, then I want to just look at what's one thing you want us to know about, I was going to say the energies that we're feeling, like the exhaustion. It says time, oh my God. It says time for a nap and chop wood. Okay, so as I said at the beginning of the video, this might be a time for us to really just slow down. Okay, we might need more rest. We might need more nourishing time for our bodies. And chopping wood, allow the mundane to be spiritual, because it is. Allow the mundane to be enough. All right, now let's look at the alien disclosure. What can you tell us about the alien disclosure coming out? Ooh, whoop, okay, those went back in. What can you tell us about the alien disclosure? Peace, breathe, soulmates, all that glitters, a higher power. Isn't that really, really interesting? Okay, so the alien disclosure. So I feel like, again, the intention, which might not be projected or the message given to us, but this actually is about bringing peace. Remember to breathe. I feel like I'm just going to look it up because I feel like there might be something I missed. Patience, waiting, going slowly, trust. Okay, so what you need to do, what do you need to do when you're in a rush? Slow down, meditate, trust, breathe. I think breathing is such a big one. So about the alien meditation, the alien disclosure is patience and trust, right? Okay, we've also got soulmates. Let's see what this one says, because yeah, harmonious partnerships, companionship, of relationship fostering personal growth. So, again, this is actually for us to see that they are not out to get us. And I think that's one thing I want you to think about is if they really wanted us all gone, we would have been gone. There is no attack that's coming. Even though I do believe some of these races maybe have been doing nefarious things, I don't believe that that's the majority of them. And if you go back and watch the channeling that I did with Celeste about how many species of what we would call aliens have been here, these were really beautiful partnerships, companionship, friendships, okay? So, and I think again, all that glitters. So this is saying that what might be given to us isn't what we think. There might be something else underneath. I think there's going to be a story or maybe a theme that might be projected, and that's not what's going on. And there's definitely a higher power at play here. So let's see. Conscious contact with a higher power, the presence of the divine, seeing source energy in all things, committing to a partnership with spirit. Yes, but I feel like this is saying there's a bigger contract at play here. And I want to ask about like technology. Serendipity. So that feels, I said, well, is there technology coming? Let's see what this one says. I mean, that to me is like, yeah, opportunity allied with readiness. So what did I just say? Maybe we're finally ready to know about this. The awareness of synchronicity, luck, and good fortune, magical alignment of events. So that feels like what I'm trying to say. Okay, I just wanted to share what I thought for the energies that were happening and present right now for the summer and for this alien disclosure. So I know that was maybe a lot, but I just want you to remember, if you're feeling weird, please be sure to check out my Substack, even my Instagram. I have some practices that you can use to really help your body create more space and capacity with your nervous system. And just remember that doing the mundane is enough. We're in the goo phase. It feels uncertain. And even when you feel uncertain, how can you stay with yourself when it does feel like that, right? Because I feel like uncertainty is a doorway for a good spiral. And sometimes we all get those, we all take the ride on the spiral, right? But it's really figuring out how to support yourself, choosing to stay, and remembering that you're not alone. There's just some really weird energy happening right now, but I do feel by the time we're in midsummer, it might feel like we can actually take a breath. So until then, and even then, with the solar flares and everything that I see coming anyway, just remember to go slow, support your body, allow your body to frickin' rest. It is a lot being in survival mode all the time. And we all have the excuses. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I can't. Oh, I can't. Yes, the fuck you can. You can. It really, you have to stop something, right? To be able to make a new boundary around something. And you can do it. You can do it. I wish you a wonderful summer. Make sure you catch me for the weekly energy updates, and I will be sharing a goddess article on my Substack working with Hemera, the goddess of light. And I'm excited for that one to drop. And even more exciting, I will be launching my membership hopefully sometime this month. So, for even more somatic nervous system care, working with the goddesses, all of those things. So, I think it will be really exciting. But main thing is take care of you, support you, know that you're not alone, and do not give up on yourself. Thank you for listening.